Here in Hawaii, music is a family thing. Traditional Hawaiian music is passed on from generation to generation, from grandparents to parents to the next generation. That's how I learned. But there's something more than just songs or techniques that gets passed from generation to generation. There's a kind of musical DNA that we all carry on from our kupuna. Sometimes you hear a guitar style and immediately know where it comes from, what island, even what town or family. Sometimes you hear a voice and just know who it belongs to. That's musical DNA, and that's Martin Pahinui. Martin inherited music from his legendary family, yet, following his father's advice, he did it his own way. He made it his own. But that musical DNA is ever present, and because of it, Martin is the bridge between his generation and his family's storied past. His voice is a rare gift that carries the listener to legendary backyard kanikapila sessions. For his golden voice floating above his nahi-nahi slacky guitar music, Martin Pahinui is a master of Hawaiian music.
E ho mai kai ke mai luna mai e o nā mea una nui o nā mili e ho mai e ho mai e ho mai e ho mai kai ke mai luna mai e o nā mea una nui o nā mili e ho mai e ho mai e ho mai kai ke mai luna mai e o nā mea una nui o nā mili e ho mai e ho mai
no ahana kai kamaine no huaibi emele no no ahana kai kamaine no huaibi ana ui no aku iau bau o kele iau ka iu o wahi awa ana ui no aku iau bau o kele iau ka iu o wahi awa.
My dad used to live right across the beach. Yeah. It's walking distance. It'll take about maybe a minute to get to the beach. Peter, my brother was a great fisherman too, so he taught me the names of the fish in Hawaiian. Yeah. When I was young, we used to go fishing for owama. That's, the English name was the goat fish with the whiskers on top. We brought it home, cleaned it, and fried it. Yeah. Well, my mom did mostly all of the work. And there was another fish I used to like to catch. Was we call them papio. We steam it. Oh, it was so good. I got brave enough to catch waves and things like that, and I went surfing. Most of my lifetime was the beach.
Ana ui no aku iau bau o kele iau ka iu o wahi awa haina ia mai ana ka puana e mele Ana kapuana e mele e noa no paana. Yeah.
My dad was a firecracker kind of person, yeah. And every year he used to take us in town and he dressed up, you know, nice, and then it's like we're going to church or whatever, but he take us to Chinatown and he buy a whole lot of fireworks. He doesn't buy a box or two. He buy the whole cases and a lot of them. My mom, they call Uha. She was a person that do things, cooks, entertain, anything for my dad. She was the leader. Without her, we all scattered. Yeah. My dad only had one job and was entertaining. Yeah. So I didn't realize it. I found out afterwards when I was growing up. My mom had to, you know, make it stretch and whatever. I think it was like eighth grade or ninth grade, I was going out to work. Most of my brothers, they all went out and they all helped, they try to help, yeah, make it easy for my mom and my dad, yeah. Most of my life was, schooling was here in Waimanao, and from Waimanao to Kailua. I didn't like school, period, yeah, but because of friends, at least I had something to look forward to, see friends. And to do that, I have to come to school. I just wanted to be an entertainer by learning the ukulele and guitar. Yeah. I think I was like playing the guitar. I learned it. I think I was 10 years old.
I think I was about 10 or 11. I'm actually riding my bicycle down the street, and here's this guy. Anyway, he's walking down the street and playing the guitar behind his head, and so I just stopped my bicycle and asked him his name. And he told me his name was Martin Pahinui.
And my dad, he didn't want us to touch his guitar. So, and then he had it tuned slacky, so he knows if anybody touch it, yeah. And then sometime I grabbed the guitar and I tuned them to standard tuning. So he knew it was me, because I forget to tune, and I didn't know how to tune slacky, so I couldn't tune it back. He told us from watching other people, because there were a lot of slacky entertainers, and they all had the different tuning. So my dad had picked up from some and whatever. He just want to show me a little bit, like C tuning, then you get F and G. He said it's similar to rock and roll. All you need to know the position where it is. Like C, and this is F, and this is G. So I picked it up, and whatever things I added, he said it's all by creation. And that's why I'm so fortunate, even though my mom and dad struggle. And I didn't ask, but he went and go get me a guitar, because he knew what kind of music I like, and rock and roll and whatever, yeah. I was amazed, because what he was doing then was all Hawaiian music, yeah. But he took time just to sit with me and play Beatles songs.
If you listen to Gabby's stuff, the typical vamp on a Hawaiian song, you know, da 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 da, that kind of thing. Gabby never used that, you know. He played different types of introductions. Some of them are Beatle introductions. If you ask Martin, he would actually share that with you on the introductions that Gabby would use, and people were very attracted to that.
I learned all my music from that group, the Beatles, because of their hairdo was one, and the music they played, I liked it from the very first song to the very last song to there. And I showed him. And then he asked me to drink with him, talk story about the Beatles. I sat down, and you know, for some reason, when this was going on, and then when he left this earth, I realized what it meant to me for him sitting down with me and talking, and how our conversation, that's how he wanted to get close to me, by music. Blackbird singing in the dead of night, take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you are only waiting for this moment to arrive. Blackbird singing in the dead of night, take the sunken eyes and learn to see. All your life, you are only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly, into the night of the dark black night. Blackbird singing in the dead of night, take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you are only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly, into the night of the dark black night. You are only waiting for this moment to arise. You are only waiting for this moment to arise. You are only waiting for this moment to rise. I had music in my family. There were a piano. My mom used to play and show us or whatever. But every time I get on, it changed from old classics to arcade rock and roll. So I learned it all self-taught. And in school here, I was playing piano for the students, and they sing the alma mater or whatever song they choose for their class. I thank God because He gave me the talent, you know. Besides learning it, He gave me a good ear. Every weekend, my dad and used to have parties or whatever, and when they brought out the instrument, and I used to sit down and play with all the entertainers. Eddie Kamai, I had so many.
Sometimes there'd be little people, a few people, there'd be lots of people, all kind of characters out of the woodworks, you know.
I mean, it's hard to describe because the music was just pure and, you know, from the heart. There was no, you know, commercial thought of the music. It was just raw, good music.
Everybody, you know, you could think of would drop by there, and Gabby was a great host, and Ma was cooking away, and everyone would jam and play music, and it would go from, you know, Hawaiian to Hapa Haole to then he'd let the kids take over and do a little rock and roll or what they were into. So it was just kind of like a family jam session.
Oh, he was a bass player and a, you know, rock and roll guy, and you know, he'd have some great ballads to sing, and just couldn't wait to hear him when he started singing his songs.
And the reason why he wanted me to sit around, he wanted me to play bass. But I told Dad, Uncle Joe Marshall, yeah, he's a bass player. He says, no, son, he wanted me on electric bass. he was curious how I find the chords on my own or whatever. I just followed along and played. But I used to use different chord changes in between and he was listening. And that's why he used to play. Hawaiian music was just a 3 chord or maybe 4 chord the most. I was adding in between, like a diminished before you get to the next chord. He was tripping out. He said, "Son, how you knew that?" I said, "I don't know. I didn't go to school. I didn't learn music in school." Like how it came to him, he didn't go to school either. But for what he knew and how to put it out, and I told my dad, that's what, it's how you put it out and make the people to enjoy. If they enjoy, you in. If they don't like you, they're gonna tell you, you're junk. My dad was so entertaining in Waikiki, and I were like in the 8th, 9th grade when there was a place, the bar called the Monkey Pad. I used to work there playing rock and roll and disco music. And my father was in the international marketplace. And then on the break, he used to come over. On daybreak, he comes over and watch me. He just was curious. He wanted to hear how I sounded with or whatever. And then gradually, his band, on the next break, his band followed him. And they stay and drink and watch until Eddie Kamai, the leader, he comes over and says, "Hey, we got to go back work, come on." And we're coming. They finish the beer and then they leave. Yeah. It was like 68, 69. There were several bands that I perform and jam, went inside and jam with them, was mostly rhythm and blues, funk, a little disco here and there. Rock and roll was a mixture of bands from England and bands from the United States, the Young Rascals. As far as England, Dave Clark 5, the Beatles, the Kinks, and then I got more pulled into the British scene.
I guess everybody has their influence, and just so happened that at that time, when he was growing up, the Beatles was really big. So
every Saturday morning you'll be playing Beatles music.
I'm totally a Beatles fan.
My dad, he talked to me. He said, "You do what works for you and do it well." And that's what I remember. He wants us to be sufficient, yeah? Instead of hanging on him and, power already, the bottle empty. Now grow up, do whatever you gotta do. That's all I remember from him, the words of him, yeah.
o ke hone kauana a ono hili a pohi au o pono mai ko o poni na haua ona ona a o mapuana ina ue oi ke uni a he kai na haua ona ona a o mapuana ina ue oi ke uni a he kai Ina ia mai ana ka puana wana ni kau ai ka mai Ina ia mai ana ka puana wana ni kau ai ka mai
During the 70s, early 70s, and in order to have a job, you need to play Hawaiian music. So from rock and roll, I played with some of the groups. They played Hawaiian music, yeah. And was not really Hawaiian, but was hapahaole. After that, they didn't want to hire rock and roll players. Oh, it's sad, you know.
He was kind of like a chameleon, you know. He could sound like a Hawaiian musician. He could sound like Paul McCartney. He could sound, you know, it's just like he was an all-around singer. He was very soulful.
The music that I had learned, it helped out a lot for me. And playing with groups otherwise, it was simple for me.
Well, I actually didn't know that he actually could play slack key. You know, he could play anything. But most of the time he would just share what he knew in terms of songs that he learned from the Beatles and especially the Abbey Road album. And, you know, I would just sit there going, wow, this guy's incredible, you know. And then he would, next thing you know, he's playing slack key with Pops. And, you know, I'd look at that and go, wow.
Well, once in a while, Gabby would ask him things. He, you know, when he was playing the bass, he'd say, well, what do you think about this? So Gabby respected Martin in a way that, which, you know, you'd think, gee, Gabby's, you know, the master and way older, and this is his young son. But that's the great thing about Gabby. He was always open to stuff. He wasn't closed-minded when it came to music. And he knew that, you know, his boys, Blah, too, was into rock and roll, and he knew that they had knowledge in certain things that wasn't his music, but he was savvy enough to want to incorporate their influences in these albums, and you hear it all over in the music. Because even though they're traditional Hawaiian albums, there's, you know, there's a lot of stuff in there that's not traditional Hawaiian in the playing. So, which made it all blend together with the slack key and the different influences.
Hearing it from my dad, he wanted us to carry on when he leaves, carry on whatever, you know, the Hawaiian. I wouldn't say language because we weren't speaking Hawaiian language. We didn't know how. But he said he wanted us to carry Hawaiian music and take it as far as we can.
In the first albums we did, the Brown Gabby and Rabbit Island, Martin was more, as the Cyril and blah, they were more into, you know, it was their dad's album. So they were deferring to the father mainly, but they came up with ideas on arrangements.
It was like, if you want to play with, can you play with me? He asked first. As long as I didn't have anything, I went. Sitting in with him, play the bass, because he needed a bass player.
Well, we did Rabbit Island with Martin and his brothers and Gabby and the gang in '74. Then we did a couple of albums on the Big Island of Hawaii at Keawaiki that we recorded, but Martin unfortunately wasn't able to join us because at that time he was playing music at the Royal Lahaina and he couldn't get away.
At that time was, I didn't realize how big my dad was, but he was big. And he went to the little ones, the small people. He never forgot them. And then he told me about it. You don't forget them.
Ai on kai kanoi na pua kua ke aloha ai on kai kanoi na pua kua ke aloha ke aloha ka hiki mauloa no o anu iola ke kai o iola ka Hawaii ponia iki kuni paia kai ini kano iponia ike kuni paia kai ini kano kamanao o halihana ana manu ike kino kuukino walono ikaleo ike kani ana manu o kai ane ikinai Hawaiian ke ai wa o luna nana e ka o mina mano Ha'okohi ka wai I nā pali. Haina ia mai ka puana na pua kua ke aloha. Haina ia mai ka puana na pua
Martin is a product of the 1960s, and he loved the Beatles and rock and roll. His first bands were rock bands, and he played in Waikiki during the heyday of the 1970s, when truly great music could be heard coming from almost everywhere. He continued to follow in the contemporary style, and that led him to the Peter Moon Band, and that's where he really began to shine.
As the years was going by, then I went to the Peter Moon Band. Oh, that was good fun.
We were just about to go on our third recording, and the band was transitioning. You know, some of the band members wanted to move on, so we went from a 5-member band to a 4-member band, and that's when Martin came in.
Peter came to Waimanalo. He wanted to play music with my father, and from there, that's how I met Peter, from Cyril and Block.
About his voice, his influence in the type of music that he listened to. Not necessarily Hawaiian, that was pretty much in his blood, but Martin listened to a lot of soul music, you know, a lot of contemporary music at that time in the early 70s. That all came with him.
Peter was kind of in awe of Martin because he knew all this time he'd more played rock and roll and, you know, show type music for the hotels. So he felt that Martin would be a good influence on the band.
I did an album with him. His first album, I believe it was King Fire. I didn't do Hawaiian music, it was rock and roll. I changed his style to rock and roll.
For Cane Fire, Martin joined the band for the first time, and his brother Cyril was in the band also, and Bobby Hall and Steve Wolford. So it was a totally different band than Peter had on previous albums, solo albums that he'd done. And Martin was a big influence on that album.
I met, from Peter, I met this girl, Leo Anderson Akana, her name. And she wrote King Fire for me.
You know, we tossed it out at some rehearsals, see how it went. You know, Peter was a inspiration on different type of, you know, contemporary rhythms. So as the pieces all came together, once I heard Martin started singing, it's like, whoa.
It was another situation where Peter calls and just says, okay, I'm working on an album, I need a really hot piece, okay, and I'm looking for something that is driving. I was living in Kauai at the time, and there was a situation where growers were growing in the middle of cane fields. A lot of these guys were supporting their family growing weed.
Well, it's a song about Pakalola, yeah. You know, save the children, and there was, but because that's how they made their money. And when the fire comes, grab your stash.
A lot of these people didn't even smoke. To live on Kauai was extremely expensive. The more people were coming from the continent and you know, buying property, and people could barely afford to live. It was a way of them making living. Well, on the radio, would let the public know there are certain fields last night that were knocked down by the sabedong, which means they're going to start to burn it. And so you would see these families come out in their trucks, jump on the trucks, and head into the fields and try to save their crops. And so that's what the whole song is about. It's talking about why people were growing.
She had the basic thing all down, but there only was a few changes on the choruses, not much, but I added just to give it a more kick.
I love the way Martin would growl the story, you know. He would say it exactly how I wrote it. And people just went crazy.
Well, the first time when I heard, I was excited. I was okay. I was all right. I said, wow, that's pretty cool, you know.
I think the thing that we were all thinking was, oh boy, we're gonna be put on a list. We knew that it could be misunderstood. This was commentary about how difficult it is for our people to survive to the point where they have to do something that they could get in trouble for, you know? But you gotta feed your family.
That had put us on the top, which was Maka-san was the number one. And this album came out, we became number one. Actually, Pakalolo came number one.
The album was definitely a breakthrough. The choice of material was excellent, and of course Cane Fire became a big song off that album, and that's Martin all the way, singing. The arrangement of the song was a lot due to him, and Martin's very good at arranging vocal parts too. That's another thing that he's excellent. When there were three-part harmonies or anything like that, he was fantastic in figuring out the parts just immediately, which, you know, that's an art to doing that.
That album took all the hokus. It had 10 categories, we took them all. Yeah.
It was like, ooh, this is gonna be trouble. Because it was telling a story that needed to be heard, you know? And so it was very gratifying to see that it was accepted by the industry as well. It's not just the, you know, young people music.
I just felt like whatever happened, I went with the flow because I was part of something there, and that was good enough for me because it was a group effort, wasn't me. 75% of my talent, I owe it to the Beatles because they kind of like taught me how to do things.
He, Steve, and I, we figured out parts, we figured out harmonies with each other. You know, we tried different types of harmonies, not just standard 1, 2, 3. You know, anything to try to make the song, you know, a little bit more signature to the Peter Moon Band. You know, and those were, you know, a lot of work, but also fun times.
Most of the songs that they wrote, they play it for me, and I just listen. Then I listen over, and I told him, give me an evening or a day.
He understands lyrics very well, and you know, it's like you said, no, there's no formal training there. Well, I was trained as a classical musician, so there was no training there either for me with that kind of music, you know. So the two of us saw and heard and felt each other in the studio, at rehearsals, and it got to the point where I would write only for him.
But before they come in, I arrange, I do a track of my own, same song, different rhythm, and the way I do it and the way I sing it different. And they said, what did you do? I said, I from the lyrics and whatever I tell them, I heard more than what you did. Most of it is a gift.
In the recording studio, he's very, very soft-spoken, and when he does his own thing, he incorporates all that he feels.
Sometimes certain songs, it's best to leave it simple so that people can relate and whistle to it or sing with it. If you can do it that way, better yet.
You know, we played we played like the Shell, we played concert hall, we played, high venues as well as backdoor bars, which I kind of enjoy the most. We did most of the different venues on the neighbor islands. We did West Coast, we did Japan, so it got to a point where this part-time weekend band got pretty busy.
The touring was okay. We went on the West Coast, went in the middle, Minnesota, and then went to East Coast, Brooklyn, New York. Small little clubs though, not big places, yeah. It was real quick kind of thing. Play, perform, fly to the next. Play, perform one night, fly to the next. So it was kind of tiring, but was interesting though.
Peter Moon called me to sing with the Peter Moon Band. And they were doing gigs at the Blaisdell Hotel and M's Ranch House. And so every once in a while, he'd have a guest artist, and I was one of many guest artists. And that's the first time that I met Martin. And then after that, we recorded together in the studio. We recorded Aloha Oi together. And even after that, we traveled to Japan to appear in jazz clubs. This was all part of the Peter Moon Band during that period of time. Wonderful days.
Martin had that long ponytail before, his hair pulled back. So, from afar, he's just from the head up, he looked almost like Konishiki, like a sumo wrestler. So he turned a lot of heads in Japan to begin with. And yeah, the father's name was legendary already, but we had some good eats, good restaurants, just good times, yeah.
There was a lot of people I met, and they all knew my father, because they knew when he was living, my dad used to go to Japan a lot, yeah. So they talk story about my father and whatever, and they said they were glad that I'm doing something to carry on the tradition. I said, well, whatever comes out to be, which I did do Hawaiian music too, so they liked it.
And a lot of the other songs that I wrote for Martin pushed the sovereignty movement. He became the voice of the sovereignty movement.
That kind of opened the way for me too. And that's what I wanted, because I wanted to do things on my own. Not using my family background. I just wanted to use Martin.
no haulele Lili pako I au Ke kau mau ole a E kau wa kau tua I Ke aloha no haolele Lili pako I au Ke kau mau ole a E kau kau huairi E ano e ka olu E ala ku paoa Lava pono ko make make E maneni ai kokino E ano e ka olu E ala ku paoa Lava pono ko make make E maneni ai kokino Ako au o ka pua Ui no pau a ele ki poki na ole No na kau a kau Ai a hoi a pau a Ka ini me ka anoi Ka anoi no e ka pua ka beauty a mana hape. Haina mai kapuana, e alohan ho haulili, e lili pako ianga, I Kahumoku leia. Haina mai kapuana, e alohan ho haulili, e lili pako ianga, Ke Kahumoku leia.
After the passing of Gabby Pahinui, Ry Cooder and Panini Records wanted to honor the Hawaiian cultural legend and carry Hawaiian music forward to the next generation through the music of Gabby's sons, the Pahinui brothers.
That started from Ry Cooder. Ry was interested of getting the brothers together because my dad passed, yeah. So he was saying, because like how Root said, somebody need to carry on the music itself, yeah. And Ry thought who could be better than the three brothers put together.
Now that album, we started work on that album in 1990 because the brothers really wanted to get together and record and do something. So it all kind of came together, and again, we spent a lot of time rehearsing and picking the material. And there were months of rehearsals before we finally did the actual recordings, which were done here on Maui up in Ulupalakua. Walter Becker, that used to be in Steely Dan, had a studio up in Ulupalakua, and he was nice enough to allow us to use the studio to make this record. And it was a great experience because it got people out of their element in a beautiful place where you could really concentrate on doing this recording and not have any diversions. And it was a great outcome. We were very happy with the way that album turned out.
There was things that need to be corrected and need to be maybe spiced up or whatever. I saw it, and Ry was surprised at me. I spiced it up. Say like the song Jealous Guy. Ry didn't want that song, but he didn't know how I wanted to do it.
I was dreaming of the past, and my heart was beating fast.
He came to the project with great ideas. He brought us Jealous Guy. He said, I'd really like to do this John Lennon song, Jealous Guy. And I wasn't that familiar with that song. It's a great song. Well, he put his stamp on it, Leave It to Martin. He did a great job and arranged the song. And of course, Ry Cooder played the guitar solo in there. But it really was a great interpretation of that song, totally different than what John Lennon did.
I wanted to do it. So before Ry came to Hawaii, had Jim Keltner, David Lindley. They came down first, so I went and laid a track with them before Ry came.
Ry was more into, he loved Hawaiian music, and that's what drew him to Gabby. And, you know, I think that he just thought, well, you know, I'm not sure how's this going to come out. You know, being a musician, he's singing, is this going to be cool or is it going to be not so great? But once he heard it and heard the arrangement, I mean, he got into it. And if you listen to his guitar solo on there, it's fantastic.
When he came in, then I told him about Jealous Guy, but he said, oh, Martin, that song is too sad and it's nothing happening. I said, well, listen to this track. So I put up my voice too. I sang the song too. Yeah. So he said, "Is that the song?" I said, "Yeah, listen." He said, "Shit, let me record. I want to do it now." He liked it the way I arranged it.
I wasn't surprised, and it was probably one of the first times he was able to bring something to the table like that, because I'm not sure in the other recordings he did, not with us, but with other people, I don't think he ever did do any Beatles material. That was a way he felt comfortable enough where he could do that song and feel good about it.
Well, I like the Beatles, first of all. And what I heard, I know we can duplicate, but it won't be exactly like how I want it all electric. It worked out fine, and the song made it, you know. So I was proud of it, you know.
When Dad brought to life Jealous Guy, that would be my high point of him, you know, really seeing him, the professionalism, you know, from him as being a musician, you know, and not really noticing the Hawaiianness, but, you know, that transition from Hawaiian to that reggae type of, you know, music.
Video was done of it, which is a great thing. It didn't surprise me because the song was so catchy, and, you know, I mean, at first I know people were thinking, geez, a John Lennon song, I don't know, but the way it came out, they gave it like a real island feel to it. And so that was where the arrangements were great. They had a good input on the song.
Yoko telegraphed me, and then I got the letter. As soon as I got the letter, I showed Ruth, and we were freaking out. She loved it. She said, well, what she told me when John did it was classical, yeah, but the way we did it, it was happy and was up tempo. So I brought it up, kind of like what John was talking, and that's what she told me. It was unreal. And there was a #1 hit for that album. What Ry didn't like. But when he heard the track, he said, "Martin, what goes through your head when you're doing whatever?" I said, "Enjoyment. You enjoy what you do. Have fun. Make it the best. But you might not see it. You might die the next day, so make it the best." Because you don't know what's going to happen the following week or whatever, right?
And in fact, when we were in Los Angeles, after the album had been recorded and was being released, we were up there to do some promotion with Cyril and Blah and Martin. And the label that licensed this album was called Private Music at the time. They had Ringo Starr on their label as a solo artist. And while we were there, they had a premiere party for Ringo's album at Paramount Studios, and they invited us to come to the party. So Martin got to go and meet Ringo Starr, and I think it was just like, you know, he couldn't believe it that he met one of the Beatles.
Got to talk to Ringo, had drinks, coffee, and whatever they had. And he heard the album, the mixing of the Pahinui brothers. And then there was John Lennon's song, A Jealous Guy, but was up-tempo. And Ringo said he loves that. The way we did it, the Pahinui brothers. He said, "Wow, now that's a good song."
Just seeing him traveling and meeting all these people that he came across, it's pretty neat.
Well, being that Dad, you know, Dad's road was pretty much paved by Grandpa's road, you know, that Grandpa led him on to, but the exposure that Grandpa opened up to them, it was like open for them already, you know. And by him meeting all these people, it is inspiring, you know.
How you wanna act, you know? But just knowing these people talking about the music we did, I felt good.
kaiu Ai nā pali ka ula nā pukini kini Nā diwa le pua nā ulu e kaiu Ai nā pali ka ula nā pukini kini Ai nā pali ka ula nā pukini kini Luia mai, ko aloha E nā manu o ulu mele mele Luia mai, ko aloha E nā manu o ulu mele mele E nā manu o ulu mele mele Aina ia mai ana kapuana Kaulana ko inoa puana Aina ia mai ana kapuana Kaulana ko inoa puana Kaulana ko inoa puana
Musicians hold many colors in the musical palette. For Martin, slacky music was always there. When George Winston launched his Dancy Cat Records, Martin returned to his roots with his solo album entitled Ho'olohe. Yet, he stayed true to his father's advice. He did it his own way.
I wasn't not much into Hawaiian, but gradually I knew one day I'm going to have to turn to Hawaiian because I'm Hawaiian. And I was told by my dad, he said, what you are, you can't change that. Gradually, as I was doing things, I began to somewhat have an idea where my dad was, what he was thinking of. That helped me a little because he talked to me and he said, what you put out in the best way you can. And that's what he did, you know, from here. And he said, don't copy, do it how you would do it. So I did it the way I did it. And the people came back and said, you sound like your dad. And today I got comments that said, Martin, you sound like your father. I said, I cannot help it. I'm the baby. I'm the son.
And when I heard Martin first record Hawaiian music, it's like it's natural. It's always in him. You know, when he first sang, you almost thought the dad was singing. And that's not even intentional. That's just because it's all inside of him.
Similar genetically, vocally to Gabby, but also his own thing. But people will say, wow, it makes me think of Pops. Well, that's a great thing. It's a compliment. But he's got his own thing.
He's comfortable with himself, and I think that even though he's a very humble man, he's very confident in what he can do. So I don't think he ever had any of that type of anxiety or problem that my dad's Gabby Pahinui. He just did his own thing and respected the father, of course, in his musicianship.
Whenever I hear my dad's voice, it's really haunting because it brings back, you know, the feeling of Grandpa being around and singing too. But Dad has a style of his own, which really sets him apart. And I could pick his voice out anywhere in this world. I'm hoping my kids could point that out for themselves. Hey, that's my papa singing, you know?
You know, at one point came to be like, how do you get away? So I did, mixed it up. I played Blackbird. Blackbird singing on the dead of night. This the holy crap, that's the Beatles. I'm playing in slack key. But that's not regular tuning. That's a Hawaiian tuning. But it's all there. So it makes it interesting for entertainers, musicians, and myself, yeah. He earned it. He worked hard for what he is. And he asking me one question, can you play bass for me? Of course, Dad. And that's it. You know, I didn't tell people, oh no, I want to walk in his step. No, you don't, because there's no size for you with these shoes, not going to fit. When I used to travel with George and Aaron, we used to travel a lot. We used to go to the West Coast.
Going on some music projects together since we're up in San Francisco, the idea of doing a solo album for Martin came up, yeah. And I remember George talking to Martin, saying, hey Martin, hey, Nakaina is interested, you want to do a solo album?
I first became aware of Martin on the Gabby Band records in the 70s. He's playing very much of a backup role, didn't sing lead, and then much more with the Peter Moon Band's first records. And he did sing lead a lot. And great bass player, it's just great feeling. And then, you know, we just said, oh, let's record. Really good slack key player too, a bit like early Gabby, a bit like Dennis, you know, playing the perfect thing behind what he's doing. We have recorded Martin solo some, but it was mainly with George Kuo and Aaron Mahi, and that's what seemed to work the best. And so it was great to finally record him, and just. Nobody sings like that.
George had showed up at our concert. We were in San Francisco, so he came to watch us play, and then from there, talking story. And then that's how we got to record an album, yeah.
We were recording with George Winston, and I introduced Martin. The sound that came out was just really so, you know, thrilling. To me, it was very exciting to play that sweet slack key sound and have the wonderful voice of Martin.
We had known, I had known Martin as a member of a band and a bass player, but, and then we encouraged him to just do vocals and guitar and weren't sure what we were going to get.
We couldn't be there for a long time, so we have to do, whenever we're there, we're in that area, I do a song or two, record a song or two, and then the next time we come back, do another 2 songs or whatever, yeah. As long as I can. And then that's how the album was done.
We worked on that album together, and that's when I got to know Martin even more, you know, as far as, you know, his strengths, his weaknesses, his concepts on music, and sometimes the challenges he has as a musician, yeah.
Martin is very deep and very soulful and very thoughtful, and he take the time to, you know, contemplate, you know, things and get things right. And like on his album, he asked Aaron Mahi, who's a Hawaiian language expert, to, you know, help me make sure I get these right. So they worked very hard. You know, Martin wanted to get it just exactly right, because Hawaiian was his second language, really.
I had big help from the guys I work with. I didn't have to work hard on my slacky guitar, because George is the slacky guitarist. Aaron is, as far as Hawaiian language, he tried to tell me the story about what the song is about, and so I found out what I'm singing about. Made it easier for me.
One of the challenges he had was Olelo Hawaii, the language. And that's where we really, I put a lot of work. I had to work so hard with him, word by word, you know, saying how to say it correctly, how to say the right inflection. And, you know, he grew up in a Hawaiian world, but he didn't grow up in a Hawaiian speaking world as much, yeah. But that's the other part. The feel is there, just like in Gabby's case, the feel. You cannot touch the feel. You know, that's a part of the culture that we always gotta be sensitive to. There's a kind of Hawaiian spirit, you know, that those that had the kupuna and listening to them sing and how they did it. And even though they didn't have the olelo down pat, the feeling they had, and they know how the feeling is. And so that part is good, and that's what you have to catch that. And the younger ones now, even though they know olelo, they gotta get the right spirit.
We played like rhythm guitar, slack key. George Kuo played lead slack key, and Aaron Mahi played bass. That was basically the setup. And Bobby Engano played steel occasionally, and that's what it all worked out best to record him on. And we have recorded him solo with just him as well. Nothing quite fit on the record, but he's great with a group. He's great with bass. He's great with slack key. He's great with the American stuff, but he was playing actually rhythm guitar and slack key on the record we did.
It's getting my music into the mainland, and George had helped me, and he was in San Francisco, so I felt good. Not only the Hawaiian market was for whoever grabs it, and he, because of George Winston, he put it in all the music stories.
So the album we did is Ho'olo'e, parentheses, listen. And he could, when he wants to like belt something, it's absolutely stunning. And he's incredible at the soft ballads too, but when he wants to belt something like Hano Hano Hawaii, it's not to be believed.
I felt good. I knew somebody from the mainland. Just knowing that they'd take me in their hands, I was happy. Be proud of what you did, and I am proud.
Dancing Cat started out to be just a solo guitar album, basically. I mean, record. But when you get over there, you have to expand your boundaries. And so we did 2 band records with Martin. And because he is in fact royalty over there, you know, there's just no question that.
Started off with that Pu'uhana Hulu. We were in San Francisco. In the studio, we were all doing our solo albums, my album, Dennis's album, and Martin's solo album. And then after we were done with those sessions, then I said, hey George, how about take a listen to this? And we got together as an ensemble that we were doing, and then next thing you know George goes, oh, that's wonderful, what a wonderful sound.
We did Hui Aloha with Martin on bass on that record, Dennis Kamakahi on slack key, George Kuo on slack key, and David Kamakahi on ukulele. So, you know, each singer sang 4 or 5 was the lead on, Dennis on 4 or 5 tunes and Martin on 4 or 5 tunes and George Kuo on 4 or 5 tunes. And that this was they're the featured artist on that tune on the Hui Aloha record.
It came about by when we first started that trio was Aaron, George, myself. I had Dennis inside too. There were 4 of us. Refreshing it, different songs and different singers.
The Hui Aloha album was nice. There was the numbers he did on that. Real beautiful numbers.
I like the full band sound instead of just me playing the guitar and singing. It's okay, but can be boring sometimes. So I kind of leave it where with a band is fuller, it's much more things happening. So I left it that way.
And on the Hui Aloha record, he was kind of the vocal coach. Like, let's make sure these harmonies are right. So he's very concerned about getting it the best it could possibly be.
I remember him helping, I think it was George Kuo, do vocals, and I was like, wow, because when he was in charge of the vocals, it was like they had to be right. I remember George coming out and going, whoa, man, you make me work hard.
Oh, it was so fun. Everybody had their bit. David had his ukulele. Dennis had his country style of music, and Martin had that sweet Hawaiian style. And
to me, that's some of the best work we've done, Dancing Cat has done. It's very satisfying and soulful music, because it's very natural, very people played together, and very, they were all so cooperative among each other.
It was unreal. It was great. And friends that I knew here, they moved to California, they all came out. And even people I didn't know, they came out and told me, they like it. They enjoyed the concert. So I felt good.
For every musician, their sound is like their fingerprint. We work really hard to distinguish ourselves from others, to be recognizable.
When I close my eyes and listen to Martin Pahinui, I can hear his father, yet at the same time, I also hear a voice that is completely his own. Martin Pahinui continues to honor his family legacy by playing beautiful arrangements of traditional Slacky songs, sang as only he can. Yet he also sneaks in a Beatles song or two during every performance.
Lonely winter, little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, here comes the sun, I say it's alright.
Carrying on a family's musical legacy can be hard. It can be difficult to find your own identity, but Martin Pahinui has achieved that with his golden voice that is all his own. When he sings, he soars. Fly, blackbird, fly.
Ry Cooder,
I was happy with what I did, and people liked it. That's all my concern. And then maybe there were some, like today, the reggae guys didn't like them. They like reggae music, you know. So, but I don't care. Whatever. Main thing I did what I did, and I enjoyed what I did. That's all that matters. And if you like it, great. You don't like it, still great. Move along. That's all. My mom always told me, prayer, son. If you need whatever or you're having difficult time, she always taught me to pray. And my dad was different, entirely different. He said, well, what you do, you get a job. And then whatever you like, you can go get it, you know, by go working. Yeah? So I would put that two together and it worked. I always believe because what my mom taught me. She used to teach me about Christ, God, yeah? Even though he's not, he died, but in some sense, he's here in the spirit. That's the way I think of my dad. And then sometime, you know, if I'm getting a hard time or whatever, I take a time off, put the instrument down. He comes in my head. Music itself can be life too. Just what you learn, and you take the best, put it all together, and it comes out great. He said, do your best, and your best is a lot, he said.
He couldn't help being around his father and not assimilate what his father was doing. And then going on to doing the other things he did musically throughout his career only broadened his horizons, where certain musicians were stuck in a certain vein and that's all they did. And Martin did a lot of different things which only expanded his musicianship.
When he played rock and roll, he played rock and roll. When he played Hawaiian music, he played Hawaiian music. You could just know that he was in that space, you know, because it's different. Hawaiian and rock and roll is so very different, but he was blessed with both grooves, you might say, you know.
Easy for me just to play Hawaiian music, yeah. And I guess it's, as you get older, you intend to slow down. As far as Hawaiian music, you know, I'm gonna do what I can do. I would, and this is not only for my dad or my family, it's for all. I just gotta do my best or whatever. And whatever comes out, ta-da!
Pahinui name is a legendary name, but Martin, I think, is probably one of the most unique talents in that family. I think Martin is probably one of the best singers, you know, Hawaii has produced. And I think what he brings to everybody is a sense of music sincerity, that, you know, what's coming out of those lungs is pure heart and music.
I was so fortunate to have a gift, well, a musician's gift. My parents told me, you know, do what you love to do and do the best you can. And, you know, whether they like it or not, as long as you're satisfied, if they're happy what they do, that's great.
Tremendous soul for the music, and he's very proud of the fact that his family, you know, tradition and upbringing, and the soul that he exudes is like nothing else.
When I was young, I wanted rock and roll. So, and like today, they like reggae music or hip hop or whatever. Yeah. If you go on a Hawaiian station, lucky you hear a little of Hawaiian, but everything is reggae. They all play reggae style. And I guess it started from ever since they did away with our king and queen or whatever. Never ends. They're still trying to get rid of our identity. That bothers me.
I never realized I loved Hawaiian music until I was in my 20s. And then growing up and raising my own family, started falling in love with Hawaiian music. And really getting to know the footprint my grandfather put in the Hawaiian music scene. And then the footprint my dad put in the Hawaiian music scene, you know? So it was really an eye-opener for me growing up.
My hope for the young ones. Today there's a lot of programs for them, and you know whatever they choose. I'm hoping they're happy what they choose, and if they do pick up on Hawaiian music or the Hawaiian language, it's great. I'm hoping, you know, they pick Hawaiian music overall or whatever, but as they get older and older, they'll realize it.
Dad would always tell us, you know, to do what will make us happy, you know, whatever it be. Whether we become a truck driver, palama, whatever we do, just be happy in what we do, you know.
Supported us, huh?
Yeah, the support from him was unbelievable.
I think his tenderness comes through in his music, the way he handles his instrument, the way he holds his instrument, the way he holds his chords, the way he strums, the way he picks. Whatever he does, it's very tender, and that is what I think Martin is.
People notice first of all about Martin when they meet him off stage. He's not anything like the huge talent he is on the stage. When he comes down from that stage, he's his mother's son. When he's on that stage, he's his daddy's son.
He has his own style. He brings all these influences that he has over the years, and
I think he did an awesome job bringing his style of Hawaiian music, you know, that was influenced by Grandpa and the ones that came before them, you know. I think he did an awesome job, you know, doing his own style of contemporary Hawaiian music, which really brings a lot of the people who saw my grandpa play, you know, it brings them back to that moment when they seen him play, but they see my dad's own style, yeah.
Music is part of my life. I'm Hawaiian, and I have to do what I have to do, like my dad was. But I still get in this from the people, yeah. They said, Martin, whatever you do, you sound like your father. So I told them, I said, I'm just doing what comes out of me, but different way of tuning it, and which the guitar doesn't make the difference. Is how you put it out and you sing and tell a story. If you get, say, out of 50 people, you get 2 people and enjoy the show, I'm happy. Now, if you can get them all, that's great. It's complete, yeah. So what you were thinking, what your thoughts were, what your goal were, you accomplish it. It continues, and each time, hopefully get better and better and better, yeah. My dad taught me, give them back. They came to see you, so be you.
Maka kai kanaya ilabe Papa i mai ya o mau tele Maka kai kanaya ilabe Papa i mai ya o mau tele Pakele mai au I ka nui manu Awa une uni wai pi o Pakele mai au I ka nui manu Awa une uni wai pi o Ole no wau e lua mai I vai au no ke tuahine Ole no wau e lua mai I vai au no ke tuahine Hiva oi na kamakua Ang ilei a ino ke kupuna Hiva oi na kamakua Ang ilei a ino ke kupuna Inaya mai anak apuana Tumaka ka ikenaya ilawe Inaya mai anak apuana Tumaka ka ikenaya ilawe